What's up, everybody? What's up? Welcome to the channel. Got a great show for you today. We're going to talk about why I said I, but it's me and Mike here, why we feel sorry for the Generation Z bodybuilders of today. A little background for these grumpy old men, these old heads, these boomers. I'm 55 years old. I started training Christmas Day, 1982. Did my first competition in 1989 at 19. Mike, a little bit younger than me, but he's still very old to you youngsters, 51 years old. Started training in 1987 and did his first contest in 1989, shortly after he turned 16. Mike, I want to let everyone know, guys, this is not going to be what you think it is. We're not going to be shitting on Gen Z and the young kids. We're legitimately sorry that they didn't get to experience bodybuilding the way that we did back in those days. So, Mike, I'm going to start off with the first topic because I know you got a lot to say about this. Bodybuilding wasn't for everybody back then. We didn't have 10,000 divisions. You couldn't just walk into a gym and a month later hop on a stage. It was like a little special club. What do you remember about those days?
Oh, bro, like the first gym I trained at was actually owned by Carl Weathers' brother, Curtis Weathers.
Carl Weathers played Apollo in the Rocky movies.
Yes, and his brother played for the Cleveland Browns. It was called the Apollo Fitness Center.
Wow.
So I was a kid, Ron. I would go in, I'd keep my mouth shut, and I'd train hard. There were big guys in there, not a lot. It wasn't a big crowd. It was a few guys. And I was the youngest cat in there, Ron. But you go in there, you train. There was one woman training there, and she was a bodybuilder, and she was bigger than me. She was jacked, short. Her name was Kelly, short hair, jacked. Like she had a husband. He was a big jacked fireman. So going in there, and I had the rag tops on and your crazy wear, but it was a small community. And it was almost, you were proud to say I was a bodybuilder because everybody wasn't a bodybuilder, Ron. Yeah. There weren't 1,000 gyms. Every gym had its own like little clique here and there. Certain guys trained at this gym, certain guys trained at this gym. We had a morning crew and a night crew. Every now and then you intertwine, like the Seinfeld episode where they had the Bizarro World. Yeah. So it was just a small community, man, and everybody knew each other. You may not have seen them, but hey, I heard about this guy, or I heard about this dude, or I heard about so-and-so in Columbus, right? We heard that there was this guy in Columbus named Meadows or something, right? We didn't know who he was. We were in Toledo. So when we finally saw John Meadows, you were like, oh shit, this guy's legit. And then you got to know him, and it was a genuine love that you don't know if they have now because of the internet.
Yeah.
And because everybody's connected now. We weren't connected then, right? You were at the 95 Arnold Classic. I was at the 95 Arnold Classic. I didn't know you were there, but you were there, right? So it's just. It was like Camelot, bro. It was like Camelot. That's the best way to put it.
It's funny how you talk about, like, we heard rumors of other guys, because I was in the Boston area back when I was young, and it's just there was no internet yet, there was no social media, so you would just hear these rumors. There's this dude Mike who trains at this gym 5 towns away. He's got the biggest arms, or this other guy that can bench 600 pounds in this gym, and it was like, wow, really? And you never. Rarely did you actually see or meet these people, but it was like stories that just got passed around. It was the coolest thing, I thought.
And God forbid, if a pro came to your gym to train. I remember Chris Dickerson came to my gym. It was like 1990, right? And I was just like, holy shit, Chris. But the thing is, I knew who Chris Dickerson was because I studied the magazines from 87 till then, right? I bought the back issues in Muscle Mag. You know what I mean? I called Wayne DeMia's office to get the results of the 87 Night of Champions, right? Yeah. So it was just, we studied that. And when I saw Chris Dickerson training calves, God forbid, it was just one of the coolest things. And to this day, bro, I can see that. It's clear. I didn't have a picture, but it's clear as day in my head what I saw. So I was in the moment. You got to be in the moment, man. I don't think those kids are in the moment right now.
Well, you just brought up magazines, so that was my next topic. Magazines were, for you youngsters, they were made out of paper. They were about this big. they had these things called pages that you turned. Anyway, you probably know what a magazine is. But yeah, this was where we got all our info. There was no I hate to keep saying there was no internet, because many of the people watching were probably born long after the internet was part of the world. So it's hard to understand the world before the internet. Contest results and stuff. For example, we called gyms the next day, Sunday morning, after like the Arnold Olympia, said, hey, do you have the top 5 or the top 10 for the Mr. Olympia? And the people at those gyms, like Gold's Venice, a bunch of, they would keep a list because they knew everybody was going to be calling. So they'd be like just rattling it off. And then they'd be on you. Man, I got some pictures of magazines.
And we got all. It wasn't just one magazine we bought. It was Muscle and Fitness, Flex, Ironman, Muscle Mag. Of course, I was a Women's Physique World fan myself.
Oh, yeah.
But you got all those, and eventually, Ron, I had a subscription. We got a subscription to Flex, Muscle and Fitness, MD. It was just, that was our Bible, right? And it was Christmas every month. You knew when it was coming out. Like, you kind of knew the date, not exactly, but you knew what was coming out. And God forbid it was a contest issue, right? You would sit there and you would just study them over. Dude, I would take like 3 magazines with me in the toilet just to sit there, and you would read and study, because this was our YouTube, this was our Instagram, this was our Twitter, this was our social media. This is where we learned who Dorian was. We learned who Ronnie was. I saw Sean Ray in Ironman winning the Cal in '86. Right. And then that what sparked that interest, right? That we all have a story of who we saw that made us fall in love. Goons was Barry DeMay, right? He loved Barry DeMay. Tall guy. I didn't understand. That's not me. Sean, 5'6", flat top, good looking like me, light skinned. And that image burnt. It struck a nerve, and it sparked a flame, dude, that led me to talk here with you because of that. You know what I mean? It's crazy how all that is connected. You know what I mean? But magazines were, God, that was great, man.
I mean, I've told the story before, but the day I decided to become a bodybuilder was, I was at UC Santa Barbara. I was a freshman. I don't think classes had even started yet. I just moved into the dorms and all this. And I had bought a jug of Weider, Mass Gain, whatever, some Dynamic Muscle Builder, some stupid Weider product. And on the side, you could send away for a free issue of Flex magazine. And I forgot all about it. My mother was forwarding all my mail to me. So I've been there for like not even a week, and it came in the mail. I opened up, and I can't remember her name. I think it was Kathy Paleo, female bodybuilder on the cover. But inside was a pictorial on Sean Ray, who this was September '87, who at the time wasn't a pro yet. He had won the junior nationals, but they had like a 10-page photo spread. They had coverage of, I think, the last year's IFBB World. That's how late it do. This is like September '87. They're showing '86 contest results. Yeah. So they had all those guys. I saw training articles on like Gary Stridham, Lee Labrada, Lee Haney, and Rich Gaspari was in there. And that's the guy I'm like, that's who I want to look like. He's my height. He's from the East Coast like me. He's not huge. He doesn't look, I could never be Lee Haney. I saw that and I'm like, nah. But I looked at Rich Gaspari, and in my dopey little malformed brain, I'm like, I could look like that. And I cut out the pictures. I pasted into the wall, and I said, I'm not just lifting weights. I'm a bodybuilder now. I want to be one of those guys, no matter how long it takes, no matter what it takes. And it was one magazine that changed my whole world in that one day. It was insane.
Ron, the pictures were on. I had Rich Gaspari's arm workout on my wall, and I did his 25-set arm workout in my basement, not thinking that this is not normal. But I remember Weider had every God bless him. Like, the sport needs Joe Weider and Peter McGuff. Like, the sport would be a much better place if those two were around. It's not the same. And Joe Weider kids started this. And there's people that don't know who Joe Weider is. And there's people that don't know who Peter McGuff is, right? And that's where I get kind of like, you know what I mean? Like, the tradition in this sport is so rich, and Like we fell in love with that. Like Joe Weider's Mr. Olympia, that theme. We hear that theme song at the Olympia run. I get goosebumps.
Yeah.
Dude, we were sitting there the last time in like the VIPs.
Yeah.
I elbowed Manny. I'm like, we're at the fucking Olympia up close. You know what I mean? Like, it's just and the kids there, they're filming and like I'm like, sit down and just watch these guys, right? I'm respecting all of them, bikini, but this is why we're there. And because of Flex Magazine, Ron, and really the 88 Mr. Olympia on tape, that's why I want to do that. I saw that show, and I saw on Flex, they had the Arnold Classic coming, and I was in Cleveland. Columbus is 2 hours away. Mom and Dad bought the tickets. I thought Sean Ray was doing the show, right? So we go there, I'm waiting. Get the program. I can still smell the program. We're in the very last row of the vet, right?
Yeah.
Find out Sean's not doing the show because of an injury. But seeing Gaspari, Robbie, Stridham, Bob Paris had the greatest routine I've ever seen. I will say to this day, ever at that show, it was just, I got to see the first effing Arnold Classic, but you're not thinking 35 years later what you saw, right? So it's just something that you can't duplicate now because we have instant access. Like I can call Jose Raymond. I got Sean Ray's phone number, right?
Yeah.
So it's not the same. The aura and the awe that we saw these guys when you see them walking through the auditorium at a guest posing, or you're walking up to that booth to buy a picture as a teenager. You're like this and shit, right? It's just. That excitement's not there. Like Samson's doing like training seminars with Mr. Olympia.
Yeah.
Can you imagine like Lee Haney coming to Boston and you training with them?
Ooh, God, I think I would have died. When you mentioned 89 Arnold, because that was on NBC. We're gonna get to that later. Bodybuilding used to be on TV, and I taped it on my VCR off of NBC, and I watched that show. Oh my God, 50, 70, I don't know how many times. Bob Paris, it was Bang Bang by Cher. I can tell you every song that everybody posed to, because that's how into it I was. Like I just studied everything and watched it over and over and over. All right, let's get into the next one. We don't have a Mecca anymore because bodybuilding is worldwide. People live all over the place. We got bodybuilders in Vegas, Tampa, Florida, East Coast. People don't leave home anymore. But back in the old days, a lot of the best bodybuilders in the world would migrate. They would either live in Los Angeles or Venice, Santa Monica, or they would at least spend a month or two out of every year. There was a hotel in Venice Beach called the Marina Pacific Hotel. It's right on the beach, and it wasn't regular rooms. Every room had a kitchen and all this, and that's where these people would stay. And you could see just walking back and forth because it was 2 blocks from Gold's, a block from World. You'd see them walking back and forth all the time. It was nuts. I'm going to show some clip of Venice Beach back in the day.
Dude, that was the magical place that we all wanted to go. Like as a kid, that's where you dreamed and dreamed and dreamed of Venice Beach, bro. And you lived there, you were there.
Yeah.
Like that's just amazing. But like I went there after the 98 USA, after I got my ass kicked. We drove there. We stayed in Beverly Hills at a flea-infested mansion a friend of ours was squatting in. And we went to Venice Beach. And Ron, I swear to God, it was like I hadn't eaten all day. It was after a show. I was bloated. I took a Lasix. The burst of energy I got when I walked into that gym, it was just the most amazing experience. Is that Tanya Knight?
Yeah.
Sorry. Get distracted. But everybody, it was just at the Mecca run. And God, I'm so blessed to have gone there, to have trained there. Dennis James was doing a photo shoot there after the USA. Rico McClinton was in there. And we went to the Firehouse, had a Bob bowl, some pancakes. But it was a blessing, honestly, now at my age, just to say I've been to Venice Beach.
A Bob bowl.
Because everybody hadn't been, had done that. It's not the same. It's not the same, man. But like and I've never been to World. So you were lucky enough to go there, correct?
Yeah, it's gone now. It's gone.
R.I.P. Tanya Knight.
Yeah. So I actually lived that summer, summer '88. I lived 2 blocks from Gold's Venice. Then I moved and I was 4 or 5 blocks away. But nonetheless, I was too chicken shit to ever walk into Gold's Venice because I'm like, oh no, that's the pros. I can't go there. You know, I'm too small. Maybe someday I can go there. So I'm going to show, this is one of the most classic bodybuilder VHS tapes of all time. It was called Battle for Gold.
Yep.
It was so that summer, because the Mr. Olympia was that September in Universal Amphitheater in Los Angeles.
Yep.
A ton of the people competing were staying out in Venice for the last like month or so. And I missed out on all these guys. If I went to the Golds, I could have seen almost all the top Olympia competitors training.
And this was nuts because you mentioned the Marina Pacifica, and there's so many iconic pictures from that hotel. Like you remember seeing Barry DeMay on that black rooftop, Lee Haney up on that black rooftop. And this, I think this to me, this Olympia with this video is probably the greatest Olympia ever, just because it was in LA, Haney's 5th. They had this video available. They had the weigh-ins for that show. Dude, I can memorize every pose routine from that 88 Olympia, right? Just, you can remember seeing Momo, Sean Ray, Phil Hill, the Phantom of the Opera. You know what I mean? It's just, you know, again, and Bob Paris with Tracy Chapman. It's just this, that Venice Beach is just an iconic place for us as meatheads. And I don't think it holds the same love that it used to, because everybody's here. Tampa's awesome, dude.
Yep.
I can go see Mr. Olympia like 30 minutes away. You know, like Phil Clayhar's right down the road. So it's just, we're all spaced out now. But when we were that small community, right, it was just, that was the place we all wanted to migrate. Louis Fritas. Remember, we got popped at the 89 Olympia for gear. 89 Art Classic for gear.
That's right. The funny thing about that weigh-in, that's the only time the Mr. Olympia ever had a weigh-in. There's another guy that passed away.
Eduardo K-Walk too. And everybody was about 10 pounds lighter, especially Gary Stridham, than they claimed to be. Dude, if you think about all those guys, there were a lot of 212s or that at that show. Librado, Momo, Sean Ray, Robbie Robinson. They weren't very, Lee Librado was 178 pounds.
Yep.
That's unheard of.
So everybody was lighter than what they said they were in the magazines. Everybody. Like, I think Aspari was 205. I think Haney was like 240. I think Haney was the heaviest guy. No, yeah. Ralph Moeller, the actor, was 6'7", but he was awful. But
and Barry DeMay came out with the. I think this is what put Barry DeMay. This was Barry DeMay's coming out party at the weigh-in. I think he came around, hit that Christmas tree. Everybody's like, "Oh crap, Barry DeMay's finally in shape." You know what I mean? Like, if again, not to digress, but if this guy only had a back,
Gary Stridham.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Even when he was big, really big, he just didn't have that back, you know, and he was peeled, but he was just never that threat to Lee Haney that everybody, like the magazines, hype. Because remember, in late that 87 under champions, he was really hyped up to be that Lee Haney challenger, you know, him and Mike Christian, but it just never materialized, you know, and ended up being like 205-pound Rich Kaspari and 180-pound Lee Librado.
Yeah, Gary. So Gary was pretty overdieted for this show, the 88 Olympia. He still took 5th. He was like 230 pounds. So he went on to that Vince McMahon's organization, World Bodybuilding Federation. Mm-hmm. He must have been 30 pounds heavier because he looked twice the size he is here.
It's humongous, like ginormous, ginormous.
Look at that. So, I mean, yeah, the Venice Beach, you'd see these guys walking around. Like I tell people, because, you know, I lived in LA for 10 years and I was down there almost every weekend. Yeah, you could go down, you could train at Gold's or World or whatever. The Firehouse restaurant, like you said, everybody would eat at the Firehouse, the same damn restaurant. You'd see you'd always see a pro or 2 or 3 in there at any time you walked in eating.
And it's just, they were mythic. They were like almost like godlike figures to us, man, because we didn't get to see them. And the magazines had that image to where, you know, Venice, they portrayed Venice as that like super glamorous. You move there, you turn pro, you move to Venice, you get a contract with Weider, you travel the world, you compete at the Olympia. Wasn't the greatest areas. You know what I mean? Out there.
The crime rate there was ridiculous. If your car didn't get vandalized or stolen, you were very, very lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
That name Venice, it's worse now. It's like a ton of homeless. Like Gold's Venice has homeless camps all around it. But even back then, you'd be pretty you'd have to be pretty dumb to walk around at night because it was all kinds of crime and gangs and stuff down there. It was
it's funny because when you're looking for it, you expect this kind of like glamorous type of, I don't know what I expected, right? But you're going through like a warehouse district and then you're looking and you know what I mean? And there it is. But the extent that when the energy when you walk in, right, was just, we must have trained for like 2.5 hours there. Just amazing. It was just one of the best. I still remember this. Best workouts I ever had. It was amazing.
Yeah. The first year I lived there, 91, I would drive anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour to get there. That's where I had to train. I had to go to Gold's Venice. Couldn't go anywhere else. I'm like, if I can possibly get there, that's where I'm going. And so I was there by myself until we got married in June of that year, late June. And then me and Janet went there, and we would go. We wouldn't get out of work until 5 or 6, and we wouldn't get to that gym sometimes till like 9 at night. There'd still be pros in there. I remember the late Denise Strakowski and her boyfriend always trained around too. So, dude, it was magical. It was like, this is why I feel sorry, because these kids will never experience. There is no centralized place like Venice Beach anymore.
No,
everybody's like spread out to the 4 corners of the world.
And I think they're also kind of desensitized to pro bodybuilding, right? There's a lot of pros now, right? So it's just they see them so often, right? And again, I'm not to knock, it's a great accomplishment, but it's a lot of pro cards. So you almost have to put IFBB pro on your jersey or something. But back then, you knew the pros. You knew every single one of those pro who was doing the nationals, who was doing the USA. We knew the junior USA guys. We knew who was supposed to win, who might win. So it was just, and now you don't know that, right? And
Vic Richards, I got to interrupt. Vic Richards, the first Nigerian Superman, right there.
He was ridiculous. Yeah. That again, people don't realize how big Victor Richards was. You can't tell in this video, but that was a humongous human being.
Yeah. He trained at my gym. I don't know what he was doing in Pasadena, but for about 6 months, he trained at the gym that I trained at out there. And that is him, isn't it? Yeah. He was so mad because our dumbbells only went up to 150. He could do incline dumbbell presses, like 4 sets of 20 reps with the 150s. And he was like bugging our gym owner to get 200s. And he's like, no, those are a lot of money, dude. I'm not getting them for you, for one person. And he was gone like a month later anyway. So
I remember the 30,000 calorie diet that there was in the magazine. So eating like just 30,000 worth of food.
Jean Guillaume. Oh, dude. I'm spending a lot of time on them. Guys in the chat, we're going to get to all your comments. I promise. I just want to get through some of these subjects.
Dude, that video, look at this video. Look at that. It's nothing but basic stuff. People training, hard work. And if you have not ever seen this video, please watch it. Ray Hollett.
Yeah, Ray.
And see, it's just when you watch, you see all these people that you didn't see, and even people like Gladys Portuguese, right? Just that was like your boyhood crush, and Alfie Newman. Just those kind of names that are actually on my Facebook friend list are now Sue Price, Dory Kearns.
Oh wow!
Yeah, just people, and Debbie Crook as well.
Oh wow! Yeah,
just
glasses, the string tank tops. We'll get to the fashion. You know how many of those shirts I had? Geez, they call them boat necks because they were cut out to show you. Mike Christian. Mike was the first pro I ever met.
Was he really?
Yeah, because that summer I worked at a video store. It was they sold cassette CDs and they rented videos. It's called Music Plus. He went there. Stridham went there. A couple other guys. And he walked in. I'm like, you're Mike Christian. He's like, yeah. I'm like, oh my God, dude. I have pictures of you taped up to my wall. You're one of my heroes. He's like, oh, okay. And then the one time I walked past Gold's and I told you I was too chicken shit but I tried to peek my head in to see if I could see anybody. And who walks out? But Mike Christian goes, oh, it's the kid from the video store. I go, yeah. And I think I ran away, literally, like scared my own shit. I was 18 years old. I was just, But Mike,
he was one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet too, man.
He still looks awesome.
He does. He talked to me for like good like 5 at the 1990 Arnold class. He talked to me for like a good 5-6 minutes. I signed a poster for me. He talked to me, and when you those kind of things stay with you for a lifetime, right? And listen, to me, this will always be the GOAT because that's the era I grew up in. I think Lee Haney is one of the greatest. Ronnie's physically probably the most impressive, but Lee is just he's who we came up on, man. And this he was so physically dominating. People don't realize how good this man was.
Oh, I mean, 8 Olympias in a row. Come on.
Dude, it's just the crucifix pose, and the thickness of the pecs. He's just a nice guy too. Just a humble dude, man.
Yeah, he is in Italy right now, but we've been talking. I want to get him on an interview because he's been talking. You know, I like to interview Lee whenever I can. He's one of these guys. I feel like physically, spiritually, mentally, everything. I feel better after I talk to Lee Haney. It's just he's an uplifting kind of guy. So he's in Italy, but next week when he's back, I'm going to get him on because
that's awesome.
I love Lee.
Like, how do you not love Lee Haney?
He's one of my favorite people in the industry. All right, that's
great.
A lot of time I spent on Muscle Beach, but it's worth it. It was worth it. So my next subject. Okay, we didn't think gains were impossible without steroids. I didn't even know about steroids until, I think I'd heard the word steroids, but till I was like 19 or 20, even when I was out there working with the pros, I never talked to them about steroids. I never asked them about steroids. I was a real proud, holier than thou natty. Like, I'm better than these people because I'm natural. And I'm going to get just as big as they are. It's just going to take me longer. That was
dude, that was so me, dude. I was so, because you think Mike Ashley and Paul Guillaume were the big stars they were pushing the magazines, and Ben Weider was also pushing the Olympics, and they were really pushing natural bodybuilding, drug-free body. And I was like, I'm drug-free. Yeah. Then I saw Mike Winters at a show in 93 in Kentucky, right before he did the Junior USA and won that. And I was like, steroids are in the sport, but I'd never heard about it, Ron. It never crossed my mind. I thought, like, with Weider supplements, and I can look like that. You didn't know, right? You didn't know that it wasn't possible. Like, we were just very naive bodybuilders because all we had was magazines. It wasn't. Now it blows my mind when I hear people in detail saying what they take on the internet, where there's DEA agents, right? That's how I think, because I'm old school, right? That's how I think. But no, dude, we were Weider supplements, Dynamic Muscle Builder, Twin Labs. That's all you needed back then. Like, we didn't, Cap Try. I didn't even really hear about steroids until I got to Toledo. That's when I was like 19, like, say, about 19 years old. That's when I really heard about that.
Yeah. So this is when I was natural. This is 25 years old, because nobody told me you couldn't get big or lean without. And I'm not like pro bodybuilder size there, but if I had that mentality back then that I can't make any gains without steroids, I have to use steroids, then I wouldn't have been able to even look anywhere near like that, because mentally I would have been defeated. That it was impossible,
dude. And what's funny? I competed from 89 to 95 clean, and I won an overall NPC show clean natural in 95. I was 152 pounds. I was a lightweight, but I won the overall. Right? Wow. I did nothing. Wow. So, but the next year to Mr. Ohio, I weighed in at like 168. So it works. But I trained and dieted and competed that long drug-free. I knew my body. Like, you knew your body, you knew we trained hard, you got an off season, you dieted naturally, and you got in shape, right? We weren't peeled, but we got in shape, but we just learned our body and we pushed hard naturally and ate. So we got a base. They don't get a base. They just start off, hey, how much tren should I take? Not about like how many carbs, but let me just take some tren.
Yeah. And I feel bad, because if you have that belief from day one that I have to be on steroids or I can't gain any muscle, or I think that's a lot of it. It's also just impatience. You want the gains quicker, but still, if you have that limiting belief, then that's going to hold you back. You're going to hear people say, well, a lot of the pros started taking steroids very young and they're fine. They ended up being pros and everything. That's like the exception to the rule. I've known for every one of those guys, I knew like 50 other guys that started gear very young and they burned out really fast.
Yep.
By the time they were like 25, they weren't bodybuilders anymore. They'd basically just given up.
When you get really good, really fast, there's nowhere for your body to go, right? Like you get to a point to where like you've almost maxed out because you're so young, you really can't get bigger and bigger. You know what I mean? Like look at like Dexter, he just gradually grew to be Dexter. Right. And we just put in the work over time. But these kids now, like you said, you feel bad because they're bombarded with drug this, drug that. Those are awesome pants, by the way.
I wish I still had them.
Dude, those are great, bro. Those are awesome. But they're bombarded with drug information. You can't start lifting weights without, mentioning drugs. It's not like food. They just want to hop on gear. And it's not like, listen, I don't know, man. It just kind of sucks now because if you're fit 17, 18, pinning yourself all the time, what fun is that? I
mean, I get the whole thing where you make quick gains and everything, and that's rewarding, but I think you burn out your body so fast. If you start out with heavy doses of gear and you're relying on the gear, it's just not sustainable. You're going to hit a point pretty within a year or 2 or 3 at the most where it's just your body can't take it in. There's another thing. Muscle Beach used to have, maybe they still do actually. They have contests right there on the beach.
That's so awesome.
Every Memorial Day, July 4th, and Labor Day. So this was a July 4th show in '97. I did that show 5 or 6 times. I only won it once. But it's free to the public, obviously. There's like bleachers. So you don't have like overly critical, judgmental meathead fans going, he needs calves. Dude, everyone that walked up on that stage got like a standing ovation pretty much because the crowd was
so awesome, dude.
Friggin', regular people, tourists. And to them, everyone they saw was, oh my God, look at this guy, look at this girl. So it was pretty cool. Plus you're out in the sunshine and everything, and you're in the same spot that like they built this over the original one where like Arnold and Franco used to work out back out in the day.
And it's Muscle Beach. Again, do they even know about Muscle Beach? Like, is it a thing now? Because that's like holy land for us, right? You know what I mean? That's just, I walked past that. I was in heaven just looking, thinking about who trained there. Yeah. You know what I mean? Just that's an iconic place for meatheads. You know what I mean? Is meathead a term now? They still use meatheads? Are they still meatheads now?
I use that term all the time. Let's go back to social media. So social media, obviously there's a million upsides to it. It's a great tool for so many people. We all use it every day for different things. But there was something to be said for just training, and you didn't have to, nobody was taking pictures, nobody was taking videos, nobody even had to, I don't want to say worry about it, but a lot of people now, they sort of depend on, I need content, I need to post pictures today, I need to post a video today. So how can you really train 100% focused on your workout when you're thinking, oh, I gotta get the right angle for my top set, or someone's in my background, your tripods and this and that. It's a lot of distraction. Plus, you're looking at your phone in between sets. I mean, I'm guilty of it too, because we're addicted to our phones. We're getting notifications on 50 different platforms. It's like impossible to even focus on your workout 100% when you pick up this little computer that's got everything. It links you to the world and everybody trying to reach you, comment on posts and videos. Yeah,
it's awesome, dude. Like, listen, it's awesome that we have access like this, immediate. Like, I love my spot. I love my YouTube music. I love it. I love having, I love my podcasts and all that. But remember back in the day doing a set of legs, like when training somebody, a really heavy leg day, like your partner does a set, like he racks it. You got to get ready. You do your set. You're like, you got to focus because it's heavy as shit. And he did 20. She's like, F him. I'm doing 21. And you get under it and you do it and you rack it and you both rest. But there's no camera to pick it up. You don't have to worry about, was that a good shot? I just get into that bad boy, focus, squat, rack it. He goes, I go. And that's all it was, right? We we didn't have to text. We talked at the gym before a workout, after a workout. We have our protein shakes. We shoot the shit. Sometimes we go outside. You know what I mean? Like, but that was our social media. Like we meet at shows. Hey, what time are you going to the show? All right, I'm gonna meet you there. Oh, you want to ride with me? Okay, boom, we meet up. That was how we socialized, right? And I think that's why. I think the training, like people talk about people trained harder back then, is because you weren't distracted. It's hard. I guarantee it's hard to train when you got to worry about the shot. Is this the right angle? Now, and I see people in the gym constantly take photos and they didn't do anything. But that's, again, I'm trying to be a better person, judgment-free zone, or new leaf. But Ryan, it's hard. We killed ourselves, man. You got in there, especially after work. We put our pagers away when we had our pagers, right? And we just busted our ass. There's no distractions, bro. It's just everybody now it's addictive. I like scrolling. I like reels and YouTube, but I think for us, when you walk into that gym, it's kind of a holy place, right? No offense to anybody, religious people, but you walk in that gym, all your distractions are gone. It's your stress-free place. The phone's stressful sometimes. Like a text can be stressful, like work text, personal text.
Exactly.
Like that's my sanctuary. No matter how shitty my day is, that's where I go, and there's no problems. There's no anxiety. There's no stress, right? But now, are they having fun? Are you having fun when you got to worry about that in the gym?
I mean, I honestly, because Giles says he puts his phone away when he trains. I don't feel like I have that luxury. It's like, I know unless you have a job that's demanding, and they could, until like a year and a half ago, I did have a job like that,
right,
where people needed to reach me all the time for things. Or if you have young kids, you need to be able to be reached.
Yes,
but
of course.
I started training, and so did you. There weren't even, I didn't even have a pager. So when I was in the gym, nobody could reach me.
No.
Unless they knew where I was and they could call the gym and they'd say,
yep.
So you have a call at the front desk. Like, oh, but you didn't have to worry about,
I remember those.
You didn't get phone calls when you were working out. You didn't get text messages. Nothing was going to interrupt the workout. It was beautiful. And that's another thing where I feel sorry for these kids because they can't do that. Someone is always able to bother them or distract them any 24 hours a day, especially when they're in the gym. Every time they look at the phone, there's like group chats and texts and there's notifications going bah, 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 bah. It's so distracting. So
I remember fighting with my girlfriend in college and then just going right to the gym. She couldn't get a hold of me. Nobody could get a hold of me. And that was awesome. Can you imagine fighting with your girlfriend now and going to the gym and where are you at? What are you doing? Why don't you answer the phone? You can't get away. You can't escape now. They can't escape. They can't escape, man. They can't it's positive, Ron. Like I get it. I get to watch a bodybuilding show in Las Vegas and in Dubai, right? That's awesome. But
awesome.
You say you can't get away from it, and sometimes you got to use that gym. And you go to the gym and just train hard, bust ass, put that shit down. Unless you have to. But again, if you're a content, I don't know if you're a content creator. I don't know how that works. If you create content, you have to. But
yeah. Are
you training hard?
All right, well, we want to move to the next one because it's all sort of tying together. We kept it simple. We did have science back. Science isn't like a new thing that just came about. But when it came to bodybuilding training, we have now all these evidence-based, science-based lifters. They're very, very concerned about the latest study that showed 22% muscle activation if you turn your pinky this way as opposed to that way, or if you pull the cable to the bottom of your earlobe instead of to the side of your earlobe. It's overly complicated, and most of these kids making those kind of posts, I don't see a lot of muscle mass. Whereas back in the day, we kept it very simple. I mean, here's some clips of the 90s training. Kevin, tons of just raw iron. This guy was just pushing and pulling thousands and thousands of pounds. Ronnie, and there's Scott, his training partner. And, he wasn't worried about, oh no, some study said I should do 11 reps instead of 10 reps. 11 is better than 10. There's so much minutia that people get bothered by now or distracted by. Back then, it was basic movements, a lot of free weights, squats, benches, deadlift, dips, chin-ups, rows.
Basics.
And look, these guys, don't tell me these guys weren't friggin' massive freaks. All right.
And I don't think they can recognize how big they really were because of the videos, but listen, magazines told us 3 to 4 sets, 6 to 10 reps, high reps occasionally, incline dumbbells, flat benches, flies, dips, bent rows, seated rows, chin-ups, squats, leg press, deadlifts, leg curls. Simplicity, right? There was no like, let me do the I didn't know what there was no one arm cable. That came later, right? But it was basic, simple exercises. And that's how you got big. Look at Bertle Fox's chest, dude. That wasn't from cable crossovers.
Dude, that was all presses.
Yeah. They had a different kind of look, a different look to them, right? But we we did too around. It was for us. It was kind of monkey see, monkey do, with we traded like Haney. Then Dorian came along. Then we did the walking lunges. But it was still basics, man. Yeah. Basic training, basic diet. We weren't very scientific. Our diet was like tuna rice, chicken rice, oatmeal and eggs, some baby food.
Here's the thing: if the science-based lifters of today, if they all looked as good or better than the guys from back then, I'd say, okay, this is better. I wouldn't argue 1 minute. All I care about is results. The proof in the pudding, as they say. But I see a lot of these young guys posting about their science-based training, and they don't even look like they train. So what's the point of lifting all these weights and you're so much smarter than everyone else and you're doing it more efficiently? Then why don't you have the muscle to show for it? And they'll say, well, steroids. A lot of them are on steroids. It's not because they're lacking for chemicals.
Science has its place, right? It's got its place, but it's not the be all end all. It's basics, and it's been shown over decades. Here's how you debunk science. Look at what Sergio Oliva Sr. did back in the 60s with not having bad nutrition, working as a butcher, not having not the best training program. Look what he accomplished physique-wise, right? As compared to somebody doing what's big now, the reps in reserve type dudes.
Yeah, they don't want to train. If you train too hard, you're going to overtrain and you won't get any results. But dude, if you look at guys, the volume training, it worked for so many people. I mean, you could say, well, they had genetics and they weren't steroids. Well, anyone with great genetics and steroids, no matter what they do, they're going to look great. So
it's going to work. But I don't know, right? It's just work, but where does that lead you to? What is your ultimate goal? Do they enjoy training though? I enjoy training. It doesn't seem like doing all that science-based lifting is fun because you're always thinking. When I'm doing incline dumbbells, when I used to be doing incline dumbbells, you weren't thinking. You just didn't want to get your head crushed, or you didn't want to get buried in the squats. You weren't thinking, well, let me do this rep in this fashion, under control, squeeze it. You were squatting down, getting up, squatting down, getting up, right? It was just basic stuff that built big legs. I don't get it, man. But again, I admit I'm a grumpy old dude, but I don't understand how that's just fun. This.
Not only that, but if you're basing your training around the latest scientific evidence, and every couple months there's some new study that tells you something totally different from what another one just said, now you got to go, oh no, well now I got to do this. So you're constantly worried that whatever you're doing is not optimal, and next week or tomorrow some new evidence is going to come out that's going to make everything you just did completely obsolete. I mean, that's not fun. To me, that'd be just completely stressful.
If they followed the weird muscle confusion principle, they wouldn't have that problem.
I don't want to talk too much about steroids, but all we had were basic steroids. We didn't have all these SARMs and peptides. So not only was it simpler, but steroids have been around for a very, very long time, longer than both of us have been alive. And we know the long-term effects. We know everything about them. Peptides and SARMs, they're still pretty new on the scene. Mm-hmm. Long-term effects, who knows? I don't know. I'm not saying you're all going to die, so you're all going to have horrible, horrible diseases, but we don't know because they're still so new. And a lot of kids, especially younger guys, they're anti-steroid, but they'll load up on every SARM and peptide that they can possibly get their hands on. You know, I tell these kids, if they're going to use those, I said, just use steroids. Just use steroids.
The thing is, Ryan, like they don't think about being 45 to 50 years old using some research. Those SARMs, you don't know you really don't know what you're getting, right? With again, I'm not advocating anything, but with some D-ball and some sauce, you know what you're getting, right? You don't know a SARM or peptides, especially because that you've tried them, but I don't know. I didn't feel right doing it because with the GHRP6, it was just a weird. I didn't see it, right? I didn't see what was happening. Now, you get some Trent acetate, I'm going to see it, I'm going to feel that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But we didn't have to worry about all that. We had if you can get certain things back then too. It wasn't like you had access. You had to worry what your dude was getting, who got to him first, and how much you were getting, how much he was going to mark you up by the time you got to it. So a $50 bottle of sip, Sip with the blue lids, good stuff. By the time it got to you, maybe $110.
Yeah.
So
it was being stepped on a bunch of times by the time you got it.
Dude. So that's how it was. It was just different, right? And God forbid if you got something exotic like Deca, or we'll get the lower bowl and the cheap shit, right? So it's just the dirty 50 milligram. I
mean, I was in LA, you know, I lived in LA throughout the 90s, and we got a lot of shit from Mexico, and a lot of it was just veterinary, like the Lorobalin was Deca, right? I believe. Yeah. It came in a 50 milligram jug because it was only 50 milligrams per milliliter. You had to inject 3 cc's of it just to get 150 milligrams of Deca.
God.
So I had lumps on my ass like that big.
But it was cheap, and we were poor. Like it was expensive, but it wasn't like it's a lot easier in these days and accessible, right? So, it's just how it is. But we had to go through channels, bro. It was just like cloak and dagger. Right. You know what I mean? Like
at my gym, there was only 2 guys that were dealers. It was a fairly good sized world gym. And we used to do group buys. Like the guy would say, "Oh, I'm going next week to get my stuff from my guy. Everybody put your orders in." So we would all order together and pool our money. It was like this whole big thing, but it was like a little secret club. You know, steroids weren't like mainstream. You'd be whispering to each other and, afraid someone's
super hush hush, man. Like go to your friend's house to pick it up, and I'll put it in a little. I would put it in a cereal bag.
So the crazy workout clothes, you could say this was either a good thing or a bad thing. I'm not sure, but so we had this was Trent Mitchell. It starts well. We had the big baggy shirts.
Shit.
It didn't really do anything for these women's figures. Look at I don't know what we're thinking. I'll show the hot skins in a minute, but this was one thing. The baggy pants.
Oh my God.
On Crazy Wear, which was one of the top brands at the time. Fluorescent colors were a big deal back in the 90s. Just loud and obnoxious clothing.
I wore that in public.
Pink, lime green, all kinds of wacky colors.
Fuchsia boat neck with the stringer tee showing. Crazy Wear baggies with hot skins underneath. The fanny pack, the Atomics, bro. I was ready for my go to a show.
So I guess you could say the kids today have cooler clothes like the Gymshark stuff and whatever. But then when you wore these, you had to have a set of balls to walk around in public in these clothes, because regular people would look at you like, what is wrong with this idiot? What are they wearing these clothes for?
Oh my God, what were we thinking? Yeah, holy crap. I will say the hot skins were very comfortable. They were very good on leg day. If you have big legs, it did help accentuate your legs. I would say that. T. Michael, my traps were never very good, so I probably shouldn't have wore those. Did not have the singlet. Did not venture off to have the singlet for the hot skins. I could not do that. And I will admit that I did wear the hot skins in public a few times with the fanny pack. So
I went to Disneyland, that's one in LA, in hot skins pants one time when I was like 22 years old. That's how much of a dumb meathead I was. I walked around Disneyland all day long in pink. No, they weren't. Were they hot pink and black striped hot skins pants and a string tank top and a baggy shirt with the traps cut out.
That is so awesome.
Yeah, but
But Ron too. Well, you were in a lot of photos. I don't have a lot of photos of myself. You were out there in the media, so there were a lot of photos of you in these clothes. The one with the MC Hammer lookalike, that is probably that is by far my favorite. I think it pumps and a bump every time I see that photo of you with that dude.
Pumps in a bump. I remember that. All right, the last
Hammer
topic, we're going to get to you guys in a second. The chat. Bodybuilding was on television. This is true. I know because that's how I got into this industry for 7.5, 8 years. I think 7.5 years. I worked for a company called American Sports Network. We had a monthly show every it was an hour long called American Muscle Magazine. This is one of the segments from it. When Kevin Leverone had just won the Nationals like a month before, he came out to LA and he hosted the show. And this was like a workout segment, but we had profiles, contest coverage, a cooking segment with John Romano every month. Dude, it was a really cool show. And it was on ESPN, not ESPN2. There was no ESPN2 yet.
No.
We got cut down to 30 minutes, but for years it was an hour long.
Dude, and that was on. I would set my VCR because that show would be on like at 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
So sometimes I would either set my alarm to get up and watch it, or my VCR. But I would lose my mind. I wish I had I think I had something on tape somewhere. But just seeing these guys, dude, on TV, like, because bodybuilding. Listen, bodybuilding wasn't like it wasn't talked about. It wasn't very big. It was on NBC, but having a show on ESPN like this was humongous. Like, it was a big deal. Like this, Lee Haney's workout, body shaping.
There we go. There you go. A week. Was it weekly or was it daily?
Every Sunday. It was on every Sunday.
Okay, Lee Haney's championship. You had Mr. Olympia, he was the current Mr. Olympia. He had a workout show on. It wasn't ESPN. Was it like MSG or something?
Mine came on ESPN.
Oh, okay, maybe it was ESPN. Yeah. So you could see Mr. Olympia working out. Corey Everson was on. There was a workout show every morning called Body Shaping. Corey Everson, the Ms. Olympia at the time. You could see her like leading a workout with a couple girls on the beach in Hawaii every freaking morning.
In a leotard.
Leotards, Kiana Thomas, some really hot girls of
Team Corey. Love Corey. Oh, God. So and Flex Magazine workout. That was awesome.
There you go. So this was another show. I don't think that was ESPN, but these were all on cable. Sean and Boyer were regulars, and they would bring in, like, Linda was a guest on this particular one. And they would take you through a whole body part workout every week, or I think it was, I want to say it was more than once a week.
It was in ours. It was every Sunday. Like Lee Haney came on first, then he came on, and then Sean Ray came on Flex Magazine. But dude, it was just we were seeing these bodybuilders on TV. Like our idols were on television. I could see Sean Ray work out on television. Yeah. So it was unheard of at the time because you just didn't have this kind of access, man. Like Boyer Cole it was Boyer Cole.
Yeah. So, I mean, now we have pay-per-views for the Olympia, the Arnold. Back then, because I used to work on, we had, I told you ABC and NBC at different times would have the Olympias on, or the Arnold Classic. And during the 90s, I worked on like that 95 Arnold that you were at, that I was at, with Mike Francois one. I was there that year, and I was there the next year when Kevin won, covering it for ESPN. We did 1 hour specials for the Arnold. Yep. The Olympia, the Mr. Olympia had a 1 hour special every year. The Ms. Olympia, these were on ESPN. You didn't have to pay. If you had ESPN, you could watch it and tape it and watch it over and over again.
Yeah, Ms. Olympia, bro. Ms. Olympia.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a crazy.
Remember the junior national when Kevin beat Paul DeMeo was on ESPN. The junior nationals was on ESPN.
Exactly. I mean, all right, it's time we get to these guys because they've been waiting very patiently. See if they love you, hate you, or let's see what to say. So let's see. Your mom's flip-flop. He's 17. He's in Germany, so he's way before any of that stuff. People like me or Gen-Z will have a lot of fun. Oh, this is before we even started. Mike is in here too. He's pretty cool. Reps rumors. Thank you. Sports growth can happen. Yeah. Social media bummed that up, man. Okay. Sometimes. I missed the crew. Mountain Dog was a good bloke.
Yes, he was.
Oh, he was awesome. John Meadows, rest in peace, brother. Nostalgic of time I wasn't even born. Yes, that is crazy. I can understand what you guys mean by club. Like back then, Gold's Gym had that aura, same face people. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I used to walk in there. It was like walking into a magazine. I can remember walking in if you went like on a Saturday afternoon, that was a time when you could see a ton of pros. I remember.
Oh.
I remember seeing like Mike Quinn, Jim Quinn, Gary Stridham, Flex Wheeler, Chris Cormier. Oh, just I think
That's nuts.
Lee
That's
Priest.
absolutely insane. I would lose my mind.
One gym. They were all in one gym training together at the different times. Some sort of reversion times of old. Yeah, you can't go backwards. Once you open the box, you can't shut it again. The Tales of Glory days. Gym bigger. Temple Gym. Oh yeah.
You were there.
I got to train there. I say once with Dorian, and then I came back the next day and trained with Simon Fan, who him and Dorian ended up having a big falling out. But yeah, I got to train there twice. It was a dungeon, man. It smelled like mildew. The bathroom was disgusting. I was like, I think I had to take a dump there, and I was like, oh no, I don't want to sit.
No, good luck.
But I had to. The magazines were super sick. Yeah, dude. I missed the magazines because, dude, I made a lot more money when the magazines were. Put it that way. So,
remember how thick they were though? Like MD was like a couple of them was so MD and Flex when they were doing their thing, they were so thick. Yeah. It was just like you would get it, you're like, oh my God, I would read it so slowly, very slowly.
I still got them. I got a bunch of these in plastic still.
Oh, so nice.
What year was this? That was 2005. So this is 20 years old.
Damn, dude.
You know how many magazines I have? Woo.
Oh, I do. I had thousands. Like, just I wish I would have kept most of them. Like, we had to get everyone removed, but there were so many, bro. Just I got a few in the garage that I still have.
Here's a good. So people used to say there's too many ads in these magazines. So yeah, because like MD and Flex both were over 400 pages for a long time, probably like a 5 or 6 year period.
Yep.
They were like freaking telephone books, and they were half ads, but that's how they made all the money. Subscriptions, I later found out, newsstands were like a fraction of the money that.
No kidding.
It was mostly from the advertisers, and that's why the magazines went away. It's because advertisers had the social media now.
Yeah, they did.
Some guy has 1 million followers. Let's give this guy, 10% of all his supplement sales from a discount code, or let's give him like a big box supplements a month and a little bit of money. And we got an ad every day to 1 million people. Why are we going to pay a magazine? Because at one time, a full page ad in like Flex for Muscle and Fitness was $10,000 back then.
Whoa.
Page. So if a magazine's 400 pages and 200 pages of ads, you can do the math. It was a good amount of money back then.
I think Joe Weider would give some of his athletes free ad space.
Yes.
Because he was very shrewd with his advertising too. He's very, very shrewd with it. Joe was he was great for the sport, but a very shrewd businessman, right?
He didn't like to pay bodybuilders. He did not.
But thank Vince McMahon changed that for everybody.
Yeah. Then he had to.
Yes.
So the athletes show the physiques way too much. Yeah. So we only saw the athletes in the magazines when they were in shape. And I thought they always looked like that, right? These guys are always veiny and shredded. That's crazy. But we didn't know that was how they looked for a few days out of the year.
Yeah.
They did photo shoots and stuff. But now we see these guys fat. We see them bloated with water. Sometimes some of these people that don't even compete, they stay ripped and shredded year round because
that's insane, man.
They have to. They're like, oh no, I can't show myself not looking incredible. So they're on gear like all the time. They're always on a diet. They're always doing a ton of cardio. They're always on like Clen and T3. It's not a healthy show.
But there was something about seeing a really big off-season bodybuilder. Like I saw John Pierre Fuchs guest post one time. His gut was huge, but he was so big. It was just so cool to see. He was like 30 pounds overweight, but he was so big.
Yeah, Fuchs. When all is done is impressive. Could easily ignore bodybuilding. Does anybody's posing remind you of the guys back then? I'd say for me it would be Ruffin.
Oh, not even Ruffin by far just would fit in back in the era. He's just, and even man, he's approaching probably one of the greatest posers of all time. Like both eras, everything. Like he's just that good. He does have that 80s flow, that that Muhammad Kawi type flow to him. He's
currently on a tour around the UK with Giles right now. So they're hitting up all these gyms and doing seminars and training with people. It's really cool. Vegas might slowly become the mecca. I think it would have already. That's like the first place guys started moving because LA LA got really expensive.
Yeah.
I'd say by the mid 90s, and people like they couldn't afford it anymore. And Vegas was still pretty cheap at that time. People were buying houses, like 3-bedroom new houses out there for like 150, 200 grand.
Oh, that makes me sick even here, dude.
In
That
LA,
makes me sick to my stomach.
at that time in LA, it would be 2 or 3 times that amount. So, like Cutler was one of the first guys to go out there.
Yeah.
I remember Sean Ray went out. He bought a condo out there.
Yep.
They started migrating there. In Florida, where you live, that's also become a big place.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But you can't. You will never be able to replicate what goals Venice had. Like it'll never be. No matter how big Vegas is or how great the gym, there's too many gyms. Yeah. They train too spaced out. Everybody was in one place.
Gold's Gym Venice font tattooed on my right forearm. Oh boy,
that's hardcore.
Dedication.
Seriously.
So I haven't been to Gold's in a long time, but even the last couple times I was there, it was like 10 years ago. It was nowhere near like the way it used to be.
Not the same. No, man, it's hard. Well, and remember in the COVID, everything was outside, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, well they have a big workout area. Even my gym in Pasadena had an outdoor workout area. World Gym Venice, that Joe Gold, that was like his flag. They had this awesome deck outside. Bunch of machines, cables, benches, and you could smell the ocean. The ocean was like a block away. Summertime, and they had mirrors out there. And there's nothing like if you're there at the right time and the sun's in the right angle, you look just so jacked in those mirrors.
Which looks awesome too in those mirrors.
So please don't attack me, Ms. Clayhart. What? I don't know. Apollo Gym Miami, Sun Gym Miami, World. These are all Miami places.
Damn.
I don't know. Yeah,
dude, Florida. At one time, Florida was huge. Like, it still is, but back in like the 90s and 80s, even kind of when I moved here, not as much when I moved down here, but like the 90s, the southern states were just like stupid stacked. The southern states, the Cal, those shows were just like insane.
Dude, to think, back when you were first started going, no, you were in Ohio still, but I can remember covering the southern states and shows like that, and shows out in LA, Orange County. We would have like 200 to 300 competitors in just men's and women's bodybuilding because there was no figure. So they'd be like 150 men and 50 women. Teenage classes would be like 20, 30 kids. They would have to.
I remember watching Chick Betancourt on American Muscle.
Yeah. 13 to 17-year-old classes and 18 to 19. They had to break it up. There were so many damn kids.
13 to 17. That's the first. There was like in my first show, there was like 5 in that class. It was crazy. I remember one teen show. There was enough. We had two guys on both sides. We had call outs. It was nuts.
Right now, full body. 18 hours fasted. I don't like the sound of that. I don't like fasting. That's your body have to work hard in the gym. Oh, absolutely.
Oh my God, yeah.
Stop using my phone to track each set. Old school. Yeah. My son, he never tracked his workouts. He's gonna do it on his phone, but geez, I was trying to show him.
Oh, I had a book too, bro. I had a logbook.
I got it. I got one right up here. Old school, a little notebook with just the workouts and stuff. But I would sit there I had a pen right here, and I would write it down.
Yes.
I would like set goals. This is what I want. I want to squat this much. I want my weight to be. I want my arms to be this. Dude, it was a phone.
Dude, I've got Polaroids that I took to where me and doing the compulsory. It's like circling what I want to be better, more delt here, more lower back here. I was like 16 years old, like not hardly no muscle on me whatsoever. But it's just when that bug bites you as a kid, especially as a teen. When you dive head first, it's a different type of love, bro. It's a different type of feeling.
Phone stays in my bag, and this kid's for a 17-year-old to have a phone not in his hand at any time is pretty amazing. And I don't want to make it sound like it's a Gen Z thing. I'm addicted to my stupid phone. I have anxiety if I don't like check for messages every 10 or 20 minutes. Like I'm doing this, I'm like, oh no, who might be messaging? It's not so bad now because with them, when I was with MD, legitimately, I would have to worry that somebody might be trying to reach me about something, but now it's not as bad. I think we all agree training can be optimized. If the work hard is what counts. Yeah, if you're not working hard, if you're not progressing and getting stronger and you're getting bigger, you're not. What are you doing?
I think too, like if you're training naturally now, there are a lot of good supplements now and a lot of good information diet wise, to where if you're natural, you can make decent gains, right? You can probably build a decent base now.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't have any evidence to prove this, but I've always believed that if you build a really solid natural base, long term, you're going to be so much better off because, well, just think about it this way. If you hop on steroids and you still haven't figured out training and nutrition, your body yet, how are you going to make the optimal gains? Whereas if you wait a few years, you get all that shit nailed down and you've already got some good size and strength, then you can really step it up to another level once you add the gear in. But if you try to short circuit that process and start with the gear right away, I don't think that it works out as well for most people in the long run.
No, and dude, back then it was a big deal. Taking gear was like a big decision. Like taking that first shot was that was like your heart was like what you know what I mean? It was something to think about, and it was just different though.
We called it going to the dark side. Like
yeah. But 18 pounds and 8 weeks later, I was like, this is pretty cool.
Crocs. I think in the 20 years from now, people can look back at Crocs and like, what were these idiots thinking with the Crocs?
It'll be one of those. It'll be hot skins, bro.
You know where Crocs actually came from? Do you remember that movie Idiocracy, which was a comedy about how stupid America became in the future?
Yes.
All the smart people stopped breeding. So when they were doing like the wardrobe designer, the whatever those people are called, they were thinking we need to find like a footwear that's like so stupid. Like who would actually wear this? And that's going to be like what everyone in the future wears. And they found this little company that made these shoes called Crocs. And like, these look really stupid. Let's use these. And people saw them in the movie and they started like, where can we get these? And that's how eventually Crocs became a big thing and people all bought them.
Holy shit.
Zubas. Those were the big
wow.
Loho. I don't have any rice. No nutrition questions. Man, we've been going for over an hour, man. So I think that's good. We had a good time today.
Dude, loved it.
Guys, Mike and myself, we're cranky old men. We're not boomers. Just to put that, I know boomer is it's like a generic term. They don't go by the actual definition of when those people were born. Because boomers are like 1965 and before.
Right.
1946 to 1965. We are we're like 66 to
77, right?
I think Gen X goes up to like the 80s because after that is millennials.
Oh yeah, does it?
I think so. I think Gen X lasts a long time. The millennials and then Gen Z. But I know they call us boomers and old heads. Well, that makes sense. We are.
Yeah, it's old heads. I'm an old head.
But they call us boomers, and I don't have a problem with it. I mean, you could call me a lot worse things than a boomer.
Exactly.
Oh man! So guys, leave some comments if you're watching this on the replay. We did this live, but leave some comments about why you think bodybuilding is better now, or maybe you're jealous and you wish you had been around in bodybuilding when me and Mike were kids. Because I wouldn't trade it for the world. I feel so blessed, so lucky, and especially because I got to be in LA I was out there for a year in the late '80s, and I came back I was there almost the whole '90s. That was like the tail end because that was like the end of that era. Because after that, people started leaving LA and going to places like Florida and Vegas.
Magic, bro.
Or just staying wherever the hell they were and not worrying about going out to the Mecca. There was no Mecca anymore. So,
God, awesome.
I'm very grateful. So I feel sorry for these guys, these young kids, because they're never going to get a chance to live through what we lived through and experience a lot of those things. Bodybuilding's nothing's really magical anymore. It's like the Wizard of Oz. It's like the curtain's been ripped away and there's the wizard. There's no secrets. The bodybuilders are just regular people. We see them every day shopping for their food, talking about their bowel movements and it's not like it used to be. It's not magical.
The emotion you get when you think about that, or when even you see like a Linda Murray, right, or like a or Sean Ray. You get the chills, or talking bodybuilding with old heads, like with you and Giles. It's just like Bob said, you had to be there.
You had to be there. Last question. These are not the same glasses. These are new frames I got. They're a little thinner. Mike's got the little.
These are mine. I had a cooler pair, but like I just can't see. I'm worried about sitting, not being cool enough.
Oh, I mean, I just got these because my vision got worse. So. In the distance, things are starting to look a little bit hazier, and now it's
you and Mandy.
We're old, man. Your vision, guys, it's never going to get better as you get older. Your hearing is not going to get better. I'm sorry to tell you. It's
buckle up, kids.
Macular degeneration. Anyway, Mike, man, thank you so much. Had a great
dude.
Great time going down memory lane with you.
Loved it.
We come from that golden era. Well, I think every for every bodybuilder, when they were young and coming up, starting out, that's the best era. They'll say that was the golden era of bodybuilding.
No, it wasn't. Ours was.
So maybe these kids now, 30 years from now, they're going to be talking to the youngsters and going, man, you should have been around when it was C-Bum and Sam Solik. And those were the days. You young whippersnappers don't know. So
yeah, no.
yeah, cool, man. So that's it, man. Thank you, Mike. Thanks everybody for watching. Guys, if you're watching the replay, drop me a comment. I love to get the feedback, good or bad. I only delete the very most insulting comments, which are pretty rare. So that's it, man. Thanks, Mike, and thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you next time. Peace.